The Switch 2 is something we have been talking about since the beginning of the Switch. Whether we called it the Switch 2 or the Switch Pro, there's always been talk of a successor, something more powerful, something that kind of aligns with the rest of what's out there in the world. The PlayStation 5s, the Xbox Series X's, and it looks like now Nintendo might just be giving us all that. There has been a ton of information come out about the Switch 2, about things that people are seeing behind closed doors, other things like patents that have been filed. We're gonna go over all of it today. I'm gonna try to just at least catch you up, bring you up to date on all the new information, at least some of it, the important stuff, and we're gonna talk about what this means for a possible direct this month, and maybe an announcement of this thing sometime very soon. Really quickly, do me a favor, check down below this video you're watching here. Make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We don't have that many to go. It shouldn't be too difficult, but go ahead and do that for me. Also, while you're down there, check the description, click the link over to our podcast. We do a podcast every single Thursday night on that channel, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're probably gonna be talking a lot about this stuff this week, so catch it live if you can. If not, you can find it on the podcast platform of your choice. All those will be linked over on that channel. Okay, let's get started with this stuff. We'll start with the smaller stuff first, and it's not even really that small. This is actually huge. As you know, Nintendo has had a big problem in the past. It's Joy-Con drift. I personally have not dealt with Joy-Con drift all that much, but I know a lot of people who have. A lot of people deal with it a ton. It's a big problem. It's something Nintendo has had class action lawsuits over. They even went as far as to let people turn their Joy-Cons in, and they would just basically replace them because they've had so many issues with it. But it looks like there has been a patent filed by Nintendo. It looks like they are joining the Hall effect craze and putting this in possibly this new Switch, because let's face it, the sticks we have in the Joy-Con, I haven't had a lot of problems with them. People have problems with them. They are plagued with issues. Other companies have come out with sticks, not only for their own controllers that are Hall effect sticks that just won't drift, they use magnets instead of actual friction, but Gully Kid has even went as far as to make joystick replacements for the Joy-Cons that are Hall effect. So it is possible, but what this looks like, and I'm showing it to you on screen now, is something that Nintendo has designed themselves. It's their own version of this, and I honestly don't even know what I'm looking at. I don't even know what this means. All I know is that they're thinking about doing it as something that they're at least looking into. Now, just because this patent is filed does not mean that this is something that we're gonna see in the next Switch. This is something we could never see. There are plenty of patents that Nintendo's put out there that we've never seen them do anything with, that have never seen the light of day other than the patent itself. So yes, this is a cool thing. If they do that, that's great. They would be the first ones of the big three companies who actually make the hardware to do it, you know, not a third-party controller. So that would be cool. That would be very cool if they're gonna do that. I would love to see it, especially in something like the Joy-Cons that have huge issues with it. Now that is the first thing. We have a lot more stuff to go. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the past few days, you know at Gamescom, Nintendo, behind closed doors, was showing developers and some other people what the Switch 2 can do, what it's capable of. Now, we don't know whether they actually saw a Switch 2, which I doubt they probably did. We don't know about that, but we know they saw a version of Breath of the Wild running on Switch 2 hardware or equivalent Switch 2 hardware. We don't know exactly what it was, but what we do know is Breath of the Wild was running 4K, 60 frames per second, which if you've played Breath of the Wild on the Switch, you know there are certain areas that is just not even feasible to think that could happen. 30 frames per second in some of these places isn't even feasible to think that it would happen, but this is running 60 frames per second. It's running 4K, which is very, very exciting. Now, this doesn't mean that they're re-releasing Breath of the Wild for sure on the Switch 2, but I mean, you know, why wouldn't you get a special edition with the DLC or something? I'm sure we'll see it. They've re-released every other Zelda game. Why not? Not really the point here. The point is that this game is running 4K 60. Not only that, it's also got no load times, or very, very, very short load times. So those big long load screens that we used to see in Breath of the Wild and we still see in Tears of the Kingdom, those are gone, essentially. They're not even there. So this new hardware, from what they're saying, it does have that DLSS technology that we've been talking about for years now. We've literally been talking about it for years. It's been rumored. This is an upscaling technology, if you don't know. it basically takes a lower resolution and bumps it up to a higher resolution without using actual hardware. It uses AI, it's a software thing, not a hardware thing. So it's way more feasible for something with less power to run things like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series S or X would do. It would make it much easier for something with less power to achieve at least the look of something like that. So you're getting comparable visuals, you're getting comparable frame rates, you're gonna be on par with the big dogs, which is something we actually didn't even think was possible. The earlier reports we heard about all this stuff where this thing was gonna be like PlayStation 4 equivalent, but that is not what we're hearing now. We also heard that the Switch 2, or whatever the equivalent of the Switch 2 that they showed, was running the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo, which came out on the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5 years ago. It was whenever they first came out with this stuff, but it was basically to show off what Unreal Engine 5 could do. And they said it was running on this Switch 2 and even better, with ray tracing that was better. So an upgraded version of that Matrix demo. And by the way, this stuff is coming from VGC and Eurogamer. I will link both of those down below. But I do want to tell you about another thing that I think is just very, very interesting from Nate the Hate and his podcast. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. I don't know. It depends on when you're seeing this video. He added something very interesting to these reports that I really want to talk about here for a second, because this goes into obviously speculation. Who knows exactly what's going to happen here? But he said he was hearing March as a very important month for this Switch 2, whatever's happening. He could not confirm whether that is a release date or if that is an announcement date. Whatever it is, March is something that is very important for this. So if let's just say it is a March release date, which I don't know. It's possible, I guess. It seems a little bit weird, but it is possible. They could totally get this thing out by March. If they start talking about it now, they would have to start talking about it maybe next month. But I mean, that's basically the window we got with the Switch. October to March, and then they had a big thing in January about it. The only problem with doing that now is we've got Mario Wonder, we've got Mario RPG, we've got all these games that they have announced for the holiday for the Switch. We don't know if this thing's backwards compatible yet. I mean, that would make a big difference if you're gonna announce it before. I don't know. Lots of very interesting variables with all this stuff, but let's just say this is a March release. And everything I'm saying right here could completely just be debunked by the time 10 o'clock tomorrow morning rolls around, if they announce a Nintendo Direct. But I think if they are going to talk about this thing, whether it's late this month, late next month, whenever it is, if they're gonna talk about the Switch 2, I don't really see the need for a Direct. I don't really see the need to be talking about software right now if you're about to talk about new hardware. I think it makes a lot more sense to start talking about the new hardware and introduce that first, and then circle back around and start talking about the software that is going to be on that hardware. I feel like that makes more sense. But again, March might just be the month that they are going to announce this thing. Then it comes out a few months later, whatever. 4 months later, 3 months later. Who knows? This is all very interesting though. It's funny because we've gone from the Switch Pro being this and that, and it turned into the OLED is what it seems like because of parts shortages. Then we came from that. The Switch 2 is gonna be a PlayStation 4. And now we're talking about the Switch 2 being right on par with PlayStation 5, with Xbox Series X. What does this mean for third-party support? Like, we've already got it. But everything that we were so worried about third parties leaving and not being able to put stuff on the Switch or lower versions of it, that kind of goes out the window now. Having these types of conversations kind of brings me back to the thing I've brought up on the podcast a few times, and it's the way that Nintendo was talking back, I think it was 2019, to their investors about looking into new technologies and moving things forward a little bit. I think we're seeing that here. I think they understand, I think the people in charge now understand that they've got to be in the race, at least viable. They don't have to have the hardware, but they've got to be able to play the software somehow, and I think they found the loophole. This is all very exciting. I can't wait to see what else comes through the grapevine and what else we get to hear, because these rumors are starting to become not just random people on the internet talking about it. This is real stuff. Like, this is actually happening behind closed doors at these events. We got Tokyo Game Show coming up. There's a lot more stuff we could hear about there. So we'll talk about it if we do. There's gonna be a direct, probably, but maybe not. Who knows? It's all really up in the air. But I wanna know down in the comments if this is real. And we can have any game on the Switch that plays the same way it does on any other system. What game do you want? I've got a few ideas for some games that I really want to see on the next Switch, especially if it's got that kind of power. I'm gonna make that video and we're gonna talk about that. But for now, if it's not right here, I want you to look right here and click on this video. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this or maybe something else. I don't know. It depends on what I put here, but you're gonna like this video, I promise. So click on this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like. Make sure you are subscribed. We'll see you in the next one.